Hey guys, it's Ben,
Nathan.
and welcome back to the Pride of Villa. After 38 games this season, we are here with our season review for Aston Villa in the 2021-22 season. Overall, not been what we expected considering the expectations we had at the start compared to how it's now finished. It has ultimately been a season of tops and turns, ups and downs, and we're going to have a look through it today. So without further ado, if you're going to enjoy this video, please leave a like, follow us on our social medias. You can find us on Twitter and also on Instagram. But without further ado, let's get started. So, Aston Villa this season in the Premier League. Ultimately, we're here for another year, but it wouldn't be the same as the previous two. Aston Villa would ultimately finish in 14th place with 13 wins, 6 draws and 19 defeats over half of our games this season. We have lost. We'd also finished third place in both the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, losing to Manchester United away 1-0 and to Chelsea. Even though we drew, ultimately lost on penalties 4-3. No silverware again this year. A really bad finish for the season. And just complete disappointment. Nathan, we've been to games this season, we've seen it through the eyes ourselves, we've also done our instant reactions. What has been your make of it this year?
I don't know, obviously we're familiar with the saying, it's a transitional season. We've been saying that for the last 3 seasons. Obviously next season probably going to be a bit different. It does look like we're going to really push on. I mean, if we don't get top 2 next season, we've got a real problem, but from this season, it's just, I don't know, I think obviously when Grealish left, we got those 3 signs in Buendia, Bailey, Nings, obviously, to fill in through. It didn't quite work. I mean, people say it was Dean that didn't really get them going, but then again, Gerrard doesn't really do the same, but you can't just replace Jack Grealish at the end of the day, but it's just been, yeah, it's just been lacklustre, I guess, quite a lot. I mean, I think we've only won 6 games at home.
I was going to say, I think we've done 7 away and 5 or 6 at home, which is not really, it's not good enough, you know. Only 6 wins at home, 7 away, not good enough at all. You know, we had the aspirations at the start of the season for that top 6 push, considering how well we did last season, and ultimately it's been massively disappointing to finish 14th below the likes of Brentford, who's their first season, doesn't spend nearly as much money to do what they've done this year. It's disappointing. It's incredibly disappointing to see. Obviously, losing Jack Grealish for 100 million, going on to win the Premier League this season, incredibly disappointing to see that as well. But obviously, the big change being the manager. Now, Dean Smith being appointed back in 2019 in the Championship, staying with us for 3 and a bit years. Obviously, overseeing the first 2 years in the Premier League, but ultimately this season he was on the chopping block massively. And he ultimately paid the price for it. 5 losses in a row. With Dean Smith, we only lasted 13 games, 4 wins, 1 draw, 8 losses. Obviously, the 5 in a row massively killed the club. Southampton, Arsenal, Wolves, Tottenham, and either Chelsea. Was it Chelsea?
Yeah, Chelsea, yeah.
Yeah, Chelsea. Not good enough, and it's a shame that he did have to end that way he did. You know, the writing was on the wall after what happened the season prior, the great start we had made. You know, he had to get it right this season. He lost his star player. He'd signed all those replacements, like we said, in that summer transfer window, bringing in the likes of Ings from Southampton, probably the biggest shock signing. Buendia from Norwich City, Leon Bailey from Leverkusen, Ashley Young on a free for a year, and then Twenzebe on loan again from Manchester United. You know, only one of them signings has really worked out this season. You can make a case for Ings, but ultimately Buendia has been the best signing out of them lot. But at the start he wasn't. I mean, ultimately under Smith he wasn't looking that good.
No.
And
there was some games.
Yeah, it was massively disappointing. So we did get the chop after that 1-0 loss to Southampton away. Obviously, we would then see the new appointment of Steven Gerrard, who, you know, does divide a lot of opinions. Is he what Villa needed? I know you're still a bit.
I just say, what I said earlier, I'll give him next season.
I agree though.
It's not a Gerrard team, is it?
I agree it's not his team. I agree he also has a lot less time to get it right because again, the money we've spent so far already and what he's purportedly going to get, and also the fact that he's not like Dean Smith, he doesn't have that allegiance to Aston Villa like he does to a Liverpool. He's not going to get as much of a greater start, but Villa are going to be wanting to get that start going into next season. Now obviously with Gerrard so far coming in for that Brighton 2-0 win at home, you were there for it. 28 games this season, including the FA Cup loss to Manchester United. This is 10 wins. Was it 10 wins? Sorry. Yeah, 10 wins, 5 draws, 13 losses. Ups and downs, you know. I think the real thing with Gerrard is inconsistency, but as Sasha said there, it's a team of not his players. You know, it's not his style of football that he perhaps wants to implement just yet, and perhaps he's not going to be able to implement it with these players. But the likes of Wendy has massively shined through. I think Jacob RAMSEY, through even Dean Smith as well, has massively become probably up there with just how much quality has been developed through. Matty Cash obviously clearly being player of the season, absolutely deserving it. You know, and he's perhaps finding out now who he needs to keep, who's not going to work, and I think that's what he's done already within the start of this summer transfer window. We'll get into that in a bit. Obviously, then key moments of the season. Obviously, perhaps for me, probably the biggest one and the best one really, being Manchester United at Old Trafford, away 1-0 for the first time in, I want to say it's over 20 or something years, but it's been a very long time. I was playing Sunday League football when it happened. You watched it. Massive, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the atmosphere, like around where we live as well. I remember just going outside and everyone was out. And that's how worried me. I mean, from that moment, I thought, you know, we're going to go on. It's just the way we play.
It was ultimately a curse in disguise, really, because we had that. Everyone thought, this is going to be it. And ultimately what did go and happen was we ended up losing our games and losing the manager next after that. Obviously Dean Smith getting sacked after those 5 games. People thought he was harsh. I know the Holy Trinity massively said he didn't like the fact that, you know, after 5 games he'd get sacked, but ultimately considering where we were, I think at that point we were 15th as well.
Yeah.
He had to go really. He's had his time. The football wasn't getting much better, and you can't lose that many games in a row and expect to still be in the job, because you know we have owners that are massively ambitious, and if you want ambition you've got to show that ruthlessness, and that's what ultimately we showed. And then obviously Gerrard coming in from Rangers, leaving them when they were in the push for going for the title, again having that strong Europa League campaign, which they would ultimately have under Van Bronckhorst. Unfortunately losing out in the final against Eintracht Frankfurt, not winning the league unfortunately, but I believe they won the Scottish Cup. Yeah. So they still had a good season, but ultimately Gerrard can look back at it and say, as it does say, you know, he's had that time there with Rangers. He ultimately needs to now move forwards and test himself. Obviously, he wants to get the Liverpool job. Why not test it at the biggest stage of them all, which you were going to? And then really, it's not been of much moments. I mean, what we do have though, obviously finishing 14th when the possibility of a top 10, top 8 finish was there. We've just been a little bit better with our results. Obviously, then we also had the arrival of Coutinho, and I think this is ultimately starting to change things, considering the label of signings. A player like him, you know, who signed for 142 million for Barcelona, to sign him now permanently only at 17 million. You know, we're still yet to see. We're going to have to see a lot more of him. He's only really had half a season with Villa, a new team again, trying to get used to that pace of the game. But from what we have seen, it can go on an off period, but like at Man City, you've got that instant elevation of quality, and I think that's ultimately what we've missed.
Yeah.
Any more moments for you, Nathan?
Well, obviously we went to the Everton game. I wouldn't say it was sort of one of the biggest moments this season, but in terms of that atmosphere, that was probably one of the best we've probably seen at Liverpool. I've seen the whole season. But under Gerrard, obviously I was at the Brighton game. It was quite intense, to be fair. I mean, I think it was 70 minutes we went, neither team was scoring, and obviously the Villa fans were getting a bit impatient because it's going to happen, and we've just lost 5 on the bounce. But as soon as that first goal went in, it's just, you're in dreamland. But yeah, with Gerrard, I think it is next season where I really want to say if he's the right man for us going forward. Because
My thing is, so because I always say this when I watch that Leeds game, the 3-0 all away from home. After I think it's the 74th minute of football we played there, that for me alone, those 15 minutes showed me. I mean, that's football I haven't seen under. If that's football that I want to see,
yeah,
it's quality. The passing's there, the movement is perfect. We look like a team that's dangerous. That's what we should be under him, and I think ultimately something that we have fallen short with. And I know people don't like to say it, but we have got that loser mentality. We have gone soft under Smith, and I think that's what. If Joe wants to succeed, and that's what he's doing, show that ruthlessness, bring back that winning mentality. He's somebody that displays it even now, retired from the game. We just need aggression in our team. We need the set of balls and to say, we're going to do it. We don't care about what you want. We're going to achieve what we want to achieve.
We
don't care.
Minutes.
Yeah, we don't care. What you think? We don't need to be a first half team or a second half team. We need to be a full 90 minutes team.
Yeah.
Interesting then signings that he did make. Coutinho obviously from Barcelona. Lucas Digne from Everton, who had the falling out with Rafa Benitez, who would ultimately only end up getting sacked a matter of weeks later. So perhaps rash business there, which will ultimately still see Everton survive in the Premier League, but only by 16th place. Callum Chambers on a free, although it's poured 2 million from Arsenal. I think it's overall been solid business. Not somebody that's going to massively elevate the quality of the team, but a reliable backup considering the signings that have been made.
I disagree there. I think he can be a starter.
I think he can be, but from what we've seen of him, I wouldn't say he's massively changing the game for Villa.
You saw it, yeah. Like you don't speak about it when he is playing, but when he's playing, he's doing nothing wrong. Like you can argue with one of the goals since Man City, but other than that,
that's what I'm saying. He's reassuring quality, but not enough of what we need. I think he's ultimately just perfect as a rotational player. Unfortunately, which he isn't, but I think that's the best we can hope for him.
I think he's going to get quite a lot of game time next season.
I think he probably will. I think he'll start with the new signing ball against that. And then obviously Robin Olsen. Well, only played one game. I don't mind him being if he does enjoy his time there, and for as cheap as it could be, as long as he's promised more money, which he bloody deserves.
I want him to sign.
I have no problem. Chidstey's never going to play for Villa again. Who else we got? Kanic will go.
I can't believe we're still waiting.
And then we've got to go Silonso.
Sinisalo.
But he's not ready yet. He's not ready yet.
Marshall.
Odie's gone.
Yeah, I think yeah.
And Odie's gone, so Silonso's not really ready, and then Martinez, the way he's going, he's not looking like he's going to get injured. Just sign Olsen, have that quality backup, and at least then we can say we've got it there.
Yeah.
Something that we should also mention then, obviously, as a recording on the 29th of May, 3 signings to be made by Aston Villa. Firstly, Coutinho on a permanent. Nothing really wrong there. I think for the money that we paid for him, I would have been a little bit more worried for 40 million, but for 17 million, I don't really have much of an issue. But ultimately, he's going to have to start stepping it up because Buendia can fill that role perfectly easily. But then the 2 big signings, firstly for me, potentially, if managed right, could be a signing of the season. Boubacar Kamara from Marseille as a free, which is ridiculous.
I wanted to say about that. I mean,
I know people are complaining about the wages and stuff.
Yeah, but you get obviously not Villa fans complaining that he should have gone to a bigger club. I mean, they're saying we're still a small club. I know we've ended off 14th again, but the only way we're going to get into the top 6 is players like him. And obviously Gerrard, Lang, Perzo were at his house.
Yeah.
So they must have said something to him. I mean, the project, obviously the display to him, is something that he wasn't going to let go. So whatever our recruitment are doing, they know what they're doing. And for the people who are saying that he's gone to a smaller club, it's just annoying.
I mean, to fight off Atletico Madrid.
That's what I mean. It shows
that is why I like Gerrard. We're signing players that I think ultimately match what we want to, the ambition of quality at Aston Villa.
Yeah.
Boubacar Kamara, who very highly rated.
Someone we've really needed.
Olympique Marseille is one of the best players. A defensive midfielder which we've been crying out for 4 years. We've finally got one, and someone with so much promise. It's exciting. Diego Carlos, one that's completely, I believe it's sort of like what Danny Ings was. He only had a little bit of news like a day or two prior, and then Villa confirmed the 26 million agreement reached for the centre half from Sevilla. I would say tall, he's like 6'2", but defensively so bloody strong. You know, I mean he's left-sided as well, which is when Mings plays, so it's going to be interesting to see what the hell's going to be happening there. Obviously, you know, 29 years of age, the wage again, I know a lot of people are complaining about it, but ultimately, if you pay the big money for these players, you're going to get that. And that's what I love about Gerrard. Under Smith, it wouldn't feel like we'd sign these players. We'd sign somebody, I know, we'd sign like his partner who's just not as good. We're signing the quality because we have a big name behind it. And when you have a big name, big players want to play for you, and that's what we need. Obviously, still linked with Basuma. Calvin Phillips is not going to happen. No, but Basuma could still happen. Still wants a striker as well. I know he's been looking at Jonathan David. He's now recently just been linked with Hugo Etike, I want to say, again, who Newcastle also linked with. I think there's some window. Again, I know we have to spend big, and at some point we're going to have to stop doing it, but it's very promising again. Very promising again. Could do with that goalkeeper being signed, which I think will ultimately happen in Olsen. Perhaps a new left back, unless Ashley undersigns his contract, which we can work with. We'll still have the right back in cash. Now, whether that's going to be Gilbert or Kane Kessler or even Philip Jambedates.
Don't know. I mean, they're all top, aren't they? I mean, I think
Kane Kessler has to be though.
Yeah, he has to be. But with Frederick Gilbert, I think he's really happy at Strasbourg. I know they were virtually about to get top 4, I think, but I think that they were out of it. I'm not too sure where they ended up, but I know he's really happy there. Whether they want to get a deal for him sorted, I think it would be mad to let him go. But he's a player I'd like to stay with us. But then again, if he's happy somewhere else,
yeah. So a lot of promise going into that transfer window, and overall just. I know. I said after the Tottenham game, it's a next worrying 18 months for Aston Villa, but I think ultimately, we're going to be fine. We'll be in the Premier. That's always the minimum. Just be in the Premier League next season.
Yeah.
I just want. I take top 10, man. I just want top 10, and I think with what everything's going on, he's got to achieve it.
Well, it's just you say that, but I don't know. So with the amount of quality we have now,
he's got to go and achieve it.
Not even 7th, I'd love 7th. I mean, I've been looking online, I'm not too sure if this is true or anything, it could be bullshit, that they're adding another place for Champions League. So 5th place could be Champions League. So does that mean that...
I imagine it means it drops down.
So is that them saying 8th will be conference?
Probably.
Well, if we get 8th for conference, so yeah, I mean, I just want to be playing European football again.
Yeah. Let's hope that Gerrard is the one that can take us to European football next season. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the second part of this season review. We're going to go for our famous awards ceremony. So I'm going to start with Player of the Season, Nathan.
My Player of the Season would have to be Matty Cash.
And I agree.
Purely because he's played the most minutes out of everyone in the Premier League. For right back, he's scored, was it 4 goals? 3 goals?
3 goals.
I mean, every one of them's been like really crucial and really well played goals as well. He's been talking about getting more assists, getting more, in the final third. It's just fair play to him. I mean, he's one of them who keeps progressing, and it's nice that he's obviously signed on till 2025.
Yeah.
Something like that. When he heavily linked with Atletico Madrid, it just shows that he believes in our project, and obviously he's really comfortable where he is.
I perfectly agree as well. Nothing much to add on to there. Young player of the season, then I would say Jacob RAMSEY. Yeah, of course is. From watching him last season and thinking he was somebody that just wasn't ready yet, he's taken it by storm. The goals at Arsenal, Norwich.
Leeds,
Manchester United. He's a completely different player, and he ultimately feels key to our midfield now. The player that Gerrard shouldn't be looking to be developing more into, and could potentially be our next well, not the next Jack Grealish. No. In the sense of that potentially going for the high value, but the first Jacob Ramsey, because he oozes so much quality, and completely looks a different player. I like watching him now. Although sometimes he can be a bit faded, but I can understand considering how many minutes he's played this season. Absolutely superb, and a really good show of development under both Smith but also Gerrard as well. But this is flop of the season now, so you will go signing because it's too easy to say players. So we go flop signing of the season, Nathan. Then
it's got to be Leon Bailey, and as much as people say, well, when he has been fit, he ain't really looked right. That's just what injuries do. Do you know what I mean? I remember the first game against Watford, he came on. He came on a bit late. I think if he was on a bit longer, we might have got a draw out of it. I mean, he came on. He got probably one of the best assists I've seen for a long time. Obviously for John McGinn's goal, and then obviously his best game was against Everton. I still don't understand why his corner wasn't the goal given. I know,
it was a no goal.
I know.
If it's not on target, it's not going in. It's not a goal.
Oh, Ben, that was.
He wasn't. Yeah, but he wasn't on target though.
At the end of the day, that was slipping in. But the second goal, obviously, that's when the whole team really erupted. But since then, it's just not been there with him, and he's very injury prone. I think when we first signed him, there was so much hype around him. It's just, I don't know. It looks like we're going to keep him for next season.
I have no problem keeping him next season, unless there was a big money offer. Then I could say let's cash in.
Doesn't seem like a Gerrard.
I just want. I think that's the issue. Injury prone so many times, and we just can't see the best of him.
No.
As I said, Everton instantly made a name for himself. Everyone sat there and thought, yeah, we've signed some quality here, considering the impact he made. But even then, he got injured as well.
Yeah, the interview.
The injuries have absolutely killed him.
Whacked the ball too hard.
There are times when he just lacks the quality. Now I can accept it being a first season. I can accept it being injuries, and ultimately next season I want to see improvement. But for the hype and the fact of that Everton game, he's really let me down. I'm just hoping next season that he can turn it around, and I do think he will turn it around.
I think he will.
Yeah. Game of this season then, it's Manchester United away. Of course it is. Winning 1-0 away to Old Trafford for the first time in however many yonkers of years.
It's just the whole day, wasn't it? It's just
the whole day was great. I know the experienced people loved it as well. The fact that they also missed the penalty over in the last minute. It just felt like such a defining game, and it's ultimately the best thing about this season because it's ultimately, we didn't do anything this year, and so I can at least say, well, that was the year where we beat Man U at Old Trafford and whatsoever. And ultimately, just a really good feel-good result there. We'll then go for best match experience for the Pride of Villa. So this season, I've been to 7 home games. You've been to 9. I'll let you go first, obviously, because we might have obviously been to different games. So, what is your favourite match experience?
So I would go the Everton one, but I think the Brighton one just does it because it is obviously it was that time, wasn't it? Like we ain't winning 5 games. Just seeing the emotion from all the fans and all that, it's just another really good experience of the game. Obviously, the everything around it after the game as well. I still remember going into that one, and you get that hype around Villa Park when you're walking through. And that is just, you just felt everyone was so nervous, but they're obviously coming out. It just felt like Villa Park, and obviously everyone's loud, and that's just how Villa Park is. We've got one of the best fan bases in the world, in my opinion, and it's just sort of felt like it was revamped that day.
Obviously, we've seen West Ham 4-1.
Yeah,
we've seen Man City 2-1.
That was okay though.
That was fine
because how we played.
That was just purely where we sat there. That was rubbish.
Yeah, true.
For me, it's obviously Everton 3-0. I think the whole day as a whole, I quite enjoyed it. I enjoyed the build up to it, walking there. It was obviously the first game as well for us in the whole
build
tent.
Up there.
Sat at the back, but when you're the whole tent, it feels like a lot more than other parts of the stadium. You actually feel like you're in that family, like you know everybody. Because we were at the back, You also get the
random
benefit just banging the sheets. I remember when we went and they scored the second goal, the guy from us was like, "I'll show you how to do it."
And you come out,
and you just say like,
your hands.
Your hands are aching.
We were injured though, weren't we?
Your hands are aching.
Yeah.
We were sweating our heats off because it was that blogging warm. Even though it was freezing outside, it was absolutely sweaty. But the whole experience just made for something that was just very much something that you wanted to experience, and then also from a victory perspective, it was really big as well because of
because they were in good form, weren't they?
They were in good form, to be fair. And then considering we beat them in our first season back, that 2-0 when we had, it kind of felt like that again.
Yeah.
And that was quite nice to see. I feel like Everton and Villa are such similar rivals that it was just a very nice game to play.
And also, I mean, since we've been promoted, they ain't beat us. So it was just nice to keep that run going.
If you could sign, because obviously Villa have been very active in the transfer window, will probably still, if you could sign one player right now, you would be given one last player to sign, who would it be?
What, if that was it for the transfer window,
yeah.
One player? It would have to be PROWSE. Just everything about him is just his set pieces. I mean, I could see him working really well with Austin McPhee. And he's someone we need. I know, like, with Basuma, he's got, like...
a strong character.
He's strong and all that, but with PROWSE, he can hold his own, but when he's on that set piece, I mean... the 2 he scored against us the season prior, there's no way Martinez could have got that, and there's no way we could have dealt with it. It was just amazing from him. And I know they've put a price tag on him for around
50 million.
About 50 million. If you ask me, that is probably I probably would pay that.
I am. It's hard to say for me because I think although striker-wise we probably could do with so much more, and in midfield there is probably one more spot for a bit more depth. I would have to say James Proud. It's the set piece really, because I think watching Douglas Luiz take a corner, it doesn't beat the first man. It's ridiculous. Our free kicks are shambolic. I just think, regardless of the set pieces, just the character and the attitude that he displays through games. You know, he's playing with a Southampton team that aren't always the greatest and are perhaps now relegation contenders for next season.
He keeps them in the games.
Yeah, he keeps them in the games. He's their best player.
Yeah.
And it's something invaluable that if Villa were to poach it, we'd have what perhaps we would have expected from Hurahan maybe, but just with a little bit more consistency and a little bit more cohesion in that midfield. And then finally, I would say who is the best, but it's not really fair considering one of them's had a short time. We're going to go with who will be the greater manager, Dean Smith or Steven Gerrard for the time Aston Villa.
You can really debate this, so.
Dean Smith promotion, 10 games in a row, admitting in the Championship, 10 games in a row, playoff final winners, Carabao Cup finalists that season after, survival from the relegation, obviously the great start that we made at the start of the season. Actually, I think it was 5 wins in a row.
Yeah, conceded 2 goals.
And now Gerrard, I know it's only been a few months, but who will be the greater manager ultimately? Will it be Gerrard or will Smith still have that?
Right now, you can't deny it. He has to be Smith because at the end of the day, he's beat Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal, Man U, Leicester. Obviously everyone else is set for Man City basically, but obviously Gerrard hasn't had time yet. I mean, obviously you give him next season, see what you can do. But I love Dean. I'll never say a bad thing about him. I think he'll go into the Championship next season with Norwich. Hopefully they do get the investment, and I think he will push on for another promotion, whether it is second or first. But he always have a special place at Villa for what he's done, and you can't forget, like, he's the man who got us back in this position where we were even talking about getting into Euro, signing these big players. So he's a key
asset.
Yeah, and he might have to have a statue outside Villa Park.
I can't say statue because he hasn't really won much of anything relevant.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's like,
but I think I agree with you.
Yeah.
as much as I'd love to see Gerrard going to work, and I know...
Oh, he will, though?
He will. I think ultimately Gerrard will work. An inkling in me's just got a feeling there's a dark patch going to come somewhere in this next period. I know it's very easy to say it because of what's happened, but I genuinely do feel there is something on the horizon for Villa, which still be one. But I think ultimately, what Smith did in that first year, he's undoubtedly gained the respect of everybody.
Yeah.
I think overall, although perhaps it failed in the end, there are definite times where he has shown his ineptitude as a manager. I think, ultimately, I can't have much of a bad word to say. I would have liked it to have carried on. It's just... I just would have liked perhaps a trophy, maybe. Then I would have said Smith, definitely. But I think it's all...
He got us into the
I agree you going to the final, where we were screwed.
Yeah. I mean, there was that one decision, weren't there?
The corner, there wasn't a corner. I think ultimately Smith will be the greater manager, but I'm more than happy to be proven wrong in that, and we can only look forward to it next season. That's going to wrap it up then. That has been our season review, Nathan.